You and Barry, you and
Okay.
Barry.
We'll call the meeting to order for the Public Safety Building Committee. And Brian, maybe you can update us on
Are you going to take minutes?
where we
Because
stand.
I have to leave at about 5:20.
Minutes, I just didn't bring them.
We have developed plans for the website, and I think these were on the
Project
website prior to the town vote.
Are you taking minutes?
Yeah, I'll do it.
But what was not on the website is Jack had asked me to put together a budget on how could we get everything that we want to get done within the appropriation. So these numbers that we put together for how we would see the appropriations going. For the police department, the hard cost estimate at $5,528,620 is the estimate that came off our professional cost estimate. So that's
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike.
the scope as we anticipated for the police department. The soft costs and contingency, at this point, we just put a percentage in. Typically, you're going to find soft costs be about 20% of your project. But those soft costs have yet to be defined. I do know that architectural engineering fees come out of soft costs, OPM expenses come out of soft costs. Also, furniture comes out of soft costs if you want to buy furniture. Within the construction, we include everything that's built in. So if it's a built-in piece of casework, none in this room. But if it's built in, it's even like tack boards, anything that's built in is within your construction hard cost number. But if it's desks and chairs, and the way we look at it, if you can take a building and turn it upside down and shake it, all the stuff that falls out is, they call it FF&E. That's furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So all the loose things in the room, even computers, would be a soft cost if you want to buy computers and whatever you need to move, radio equipment, you have to accommodate whatever you're going to bring with you. That would come out of soft costs. So one of the things you'd have to do as a committee is start to identify what are those expenses. Typically, you're going to find with everything adding up, it's typically going to be around 20% of your hard costs. Contingency is just that. If you don't need it, you don't use it, but there will be something, whether it's something to support soft costs or something to support hard costs. It's just there for your use. So we see that.
Clarifying that, but
Yes.
that's owner's contingency.
Owner's.
There's a contingency built into the construction estimate.
Totally your contingency. It's for your use. Within the hard cost number, there are some additional contingencies already built into the hard cost number for contractor contingency, and estimating contingencies are within that hard cost number. For the fire department, we have left off a component of the fire department, and that component is renovating the existing building. The only components that we've listed here is the new addition, as you see it on the plan, and the site work to get the new addition on, and the additional parking and the new road out. So everything to do with the addition, everything to do with the site work for the addition is factored in here at the full value.
Why?
Because in our opinion, what you would ask us, what's the best way to spend the money?
Yeah.
The best way to spend the money, in my opinion, is get the square footage that you need for the addition.
2 questions on that, please. Does that include a new roof for the entire facility?
It includes nothing for the existing building.
But how do you add on a roof to the far side that connects to this side without fixing the existing roof?
Well, we'll have to do something to connect. But the way we have this, we have a flat roof section that is going to sit next to the pitched roofs on the existing building. And we haven't put
Well,
any of the money back.
The building has a flat roof.
Right. For that connector piece, there's a flat roof on that section.
And what about heating and air conditioning?
Oh, we've only put the money in for the new addition.
How do you, if it isn't there, how do you put money in for just an addition and not have it a consideration of the building?
and here's where we're looking ahead. Our recommendation is to bid these projects separately, and savings from the police department gets transferred to the fire department. So we will look to build in whatever savings we can on the police department project, get that project done, and our hope would be there's money left to be transferred, and then everything that's available goes into what you need to do for the renovation of the existing building. And then it's your choice. Do you want to put it toward the roof? You want to put it toward the mechanicals? There's really not much you need to do in the existing apparatus bay. So that's where you say, okay, we won't do that, but maybe we concentrate on putting that classroom into the existing building. You're going to have to make some choices.
Well, I understand that. I think everybody here has been through a building project before, so we understand the process, but and I'm speaking only for me, Manager, is what I'm concerned about is that we don't have sufficient funding after the police station to do what we need to do to the fire station. And I don't want that to happen. So maybe we're saying the same thing, but this is just my opinion. Maybe we're saying the same thing, but I see it developing slightly differently than the way you described it. We can't hope to get savings from the police station that we might be able to do what we need to do to the fire station. That is not, again, for me, that's not a strategy I can accept. Be outvoted, but that's one I will vote no on. We need to identify what has to be done to that fire station. Roof has to be done. Internal air conditioning, heating has to be done. Those aren't options. We don't need to build a classroom in the bay. You know, we probably need to look at remodeling a bathroom, and because most of the sleeping facilities are going to be new and all that. So we're okay. I agree. Most of minimal renovations to the old building.
Right, and now we have to figure out how
But
much do we...
it does need a roof, and it does need, a new system, heating and whatever, HVAC, whatever you think you call those
I think
things.
the only thing that I was looking at, and I agree with you, it'd be great, we need to get it all done. But at this point in the projects, do we want to scale back on the addition at the fire station and potentially lose square footage in the fire station for the sake of putting a new roof on or doing something to the mechanicals, which could be a capital expense?
Well,
Or you have to balance, I always say square footage is golden. So when you're going to look at,
we're not saying the same thing. Let me try again. If we're looking at creating a police station, we have the shell, but we're going to create a police station. I would prefer, just me, I would prefer to see us get some realistic numbers for the fire station. I understand not bid, but we can come pretty close. Some realistic numbers for the fire station so we know what we really have for the police station. We may have to scale back a little on the police station. I just don't want to find ourselves in a position where we've done everything we want to do for the police station, and we don't have enough money to finish the fire station.
Yeah,
And I understand you've got the addition, that's great, we need that, but we need a roof. That's not an option for us.
we need to come up with a strategy then to get
Just my opinion. Others chip
everything we
in.
need.
I'll throw my 2 cents in. It seems to me that you're saying that we're going to put everything into the police station, and if we do save some money on some of these things, then we'll put any extra money into the fire station.
Don't agree with that.
I would propose, you're talking about square footage and square footage. The police station has square footage already.
Correct.
And we need certain things to make it a police station. Sorry, Chief. But we need certain things to make it a police station. The fire station also needs certain things to get that square footage. And if we take, I don't know, I'll call it a minimalist approach at first and say, these are the minimum things that we need to make these two buildings function as police and fire. And whatever that number is, there's a number that could be assigned to that. Chief, I got a seat right here, buddy.
I want to sit next to these guys.
I don't blame you.
They're my new best friends.
Trying to get your money. But that's the way I would propose to look at it, is let's get the minimums for both of the buildings, and then as we find savings, then we can start to add extras to that. I mean,
He said it better than I did, but I agree with that.
I agree, like Brian, and for those of you who don't know me, Andrew Pellegrini with CDR McGuire. We're hired as the owner, project manager, and clerk, but I agree. I think coming to this meeting to get things rolling, I was gonna work on a budget, and I can work with the chiefs outside of this meeting to see their needs, computers, stuff like that, to start to develop where we're at. So it's interesting you being, leaving the existing facade. I'm leery about that. I think it's gonna be hard to leave a metal shell building, but these are all things we're gonna have to look at going forward. But my plan was to, out of this meeting, start to come up with real numbers in a real budget from the money that's just been approved. And I agree with Brian that I think we go out to bid separately. I'm not a big fan of the CM at risk, which is basically a general contractor.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
What's that?
I agree with you.
You agree? Yeah, so I think
I
that-
wasn't challenging that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you're right. If there's gonna, the police station has to get done first.
We agree.
Yes.
And we should take every opportunity we can to find savings in that project, knowing that the fire station needs those savings and to be applied to their
Right,
project.
right.
So we can take approaches to take that minimalist approach. You're still going to have some level of investment in that building that's going to be required. But then you could also say furniture, for instance. You have the ability to say, do we buy furniture or do we put something that would be a soft cost that we can transfer over to the fire station hard costs? You have these, they're just allowances at this point. But you have also that ability to say, well, let's wait until everything's done and then see what we have for furniture. I mean, there's decisions that have to be made, and you're the ones to make them. We're the ones to give you the best information.
But to Ray's point, and you, I think we were saying the same thing, you just said it a little better. I agree the police need to be bid first, but if we don't have some base understanding of the minimum amount required to meet the needs of the fire department, we're playing Russian roulette with the police department, in my opinion. And we're not going to spend more than $12.2 million. So,
That's right. And we knew going in, there's something you're not going to get.
and we knew that too. And,
So now we just have to find out what is that something. Hopefully, you know, we're all looking through rose-colored glasses, maybe, but you say, okay, we can get this project, and once we bid it, we know what the numbers are. We bid it with alternates, we can adjust the bids. We can tune the bids to what the number needs to be. And if the number's less than this number for the police department, we ratchet down the drawings to meet it, or we'll just add more alternates. So you can then adjust the scope to get to a number.
One area I know we had talked about was site costs.
Yeah.
There was some talk that the DPW could do some of the site work.
Right.
So we've
That'd
got
be
over
great.
$2 million in site costs.
That's a big savings. We have two projects now where the town's doing the site work. We have the contractor only bringing utilities 10 feet out of the building. So that's the contract scope, is 10 feet out of the building, and then they stop. And the owner, through DPW, is taking the utilities from that point, 10 feet out of the building, and they're taking them the rest of the way. Significant savings.
And we have the capacity to do that.
Significant savings. Now, there's a budget that's put aside so the town has the money to buy materials and supplies. But the labor is where you have your significant savings. And that's worked very well. There was a very small project we just wrapped up in the town of Brookfield, and for a very, very small project, they figured $300,000 they saved just by the town doing the site work. That number on this job would be twice that.
Along those same lines,
Yeah.
Dennis,
you are carrying 1.2 million for site work at the
Yeah.
police center.
Yeah, I know
I
we've got.
understand there's rock there. I don't
Right.
think there's $1.2 million worth of rock there, regardless of whether the town does it or it's part of the bid. But just to
Unless somebody
back up
reports
to Jim's original point, just as a point of reference, back in October, I think was the last time I saw the estimates. you were carrying a little over $3 million for renovation of the existing fire station. So just so everyone has a point of reference of the magnitude
Yeah.
you're talking about, looking to get savings either from site work, town doing some work, or, some savings in the bids, or just
Right.
whether that's a good number or not, I guess, is still up for debate, because I think that was over $300 a square foot.
I think you're right on that number.
I know you're high on a lot of these. I know that. We wanted you to be high. We wanted a lot of contingency. We wanted some, I don't want to say the wrong word here, but we wanted to be sure we were aggressive in estimating these costs so that we'd have an opportunity to come under as opposed to over. I'm not questioning that. I just want to be sure that we get the basic needs down for the fire station. That's my only point. Roof is one of them. It's a basic need. We can't,
I also, sorry to cut you off.
No, that's okay.
But I think what is very nice here is obviously that the chiefs know is that there'll be I'm sure State 911's going to be pretty excited to hear that this is a go and that
Yep.
there's going to be a regional dispatch, hopefully on the second floor. So I think that would help. That helped. I just did Webster Police, same situation. They shared a building. We built a new police and then went and renovated the fire, but that was a big help. They didn't, all the dispatches ends up being up in that regional dispatch, and there's funding from the state for things like that. So that would definitely help on our soft cost side of the police station. So.
I would like to think that some of the rec costs are factored into some, maybe we get some savings from what your plan is. And
They must include furniture.
follow up on that, you had said that you weren't able to get all of the things you wanted into the fire side without taking it from the police. How much is missing from the fire
About
side?
$3 million.
3?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the number again, Brian?
About $3 million in renovations to the existing building.
Do you remember what that included?
It would be a complete renovation of the interior of the office spaces, and it would be the roof, and it would be new mechanicals.
To fit what you drew out here?
Correct.
Okay.
So, being a skeptic that I sometimes am,
No, come on.
so we're going to have one brand-new building attached to one building that we're not doing anything to.
No.
Well, hopefully
No.
not. No, that's
No, that is not, you
we're
missed the
trying to
conversation.
stay-
Right.
yeah,
So I'm a late comer, so
we're-
Yeah.
I'm an outlier.
We know we need to find money to fill that bucket. And to what level we can fill that bucket is going to be dependent on all the decisions we have to make with all the other buckets. And it has to do with the scope of the police department, it has to do with savings that we can find in
That
other...
number is not a bucket, it's like a reservoir, Chuck.
Yeah, it's like a bucket with a big hole in it. Yeah.
I mean, Chuck is magnanimous, but I don't really think he's $3 million magnanimous.
Cole, we were talking, we were making the point, or I was, I guess, that we need to be sure that we have a fairly good estimate on the basic needs of that fire station, which is, and the two that come to, roof and HVAC, heating and air conditioning system, two basic things that have to get done. So they need to be included, in my view, just again me, I think Ray said the same thing, they need to be included as part of the base costs associated with that project. And we got to make sure we got enough out of that 12.2 to do that and not make it a wishful thought that we underspend the police station. We can't do it that way.
Once you have square footage, once you have the addition, you have the square footage. When you're looking at the existing building, the area of the heaviest renovation concentration would be back at the cell area, where we're going to look to create that meeting room. The rest of your rooms throughout here, a lot of them are similar to their existing use. So the way we said, and answered Jack's question, he says, if I had this money to spend, where would I spend it? And my answer was, I want to give you the addition. It doesn't mean we're not going to do anything to the existing building, but right now in this scope, we haven't put any bucket yet saying that that's the amount we're going to apply toward this renovation. But now that we have project, now we have money, now we make the hard decisions, and you as a committee, we have to give you the information to let you make an educated decision on where do we want to scale back on all of these other line items. You can see- I don't know if you've seen this one.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Where do you want to scale back on these other line items to create the money to put the roof on? And then what are the other must-haves? If you say, I must have this, then we need to identify how much it's going to cost to must-have this. Or must-have mechanicals. That's where we'll work together to say, then you need to come up with this much money out of somewhere to put toward mechanicals. There's going to be something.
Forced march on Stalingrad. That's what it
There's
is.
going to be something in these projects that either one of them might not get 100% of. Because if there's a $3 million gap somewhere, something's going to have to accommodate that. Whether it's, we'd rather put the money toward the roof than buy new furniture. Once you have the square footage, and once these buildings are occupied, you can continue to upgrade and continue to make changes to and continue to do capital improvements on.
I ain't gonna see no more money. Not in my lifetime. And I'm not that, I'm pretty old, so. That kid's lifetime,
We
I
have
ain't
had-
gonna see it either.
We've had projects furnished with donated furniture from insurance companies, for instance. We've done things because we've had to do things because the money wasn't there. And we're going to have to make some decisions on, is that something that we're going to try for or not? I don't want anybody to get the impression that we know the solutions for right now. And it's all going to be great and we're all going to have everything we want. That'd be great, and that's the hope, but
So
right
how-
now,
So how do we start?
there's
I
a
mean,
gap.
How do we start? You said we need to let you know what has to be done.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know it's a roof, and I know it's an HVAC system, so if there's more, I don't know that, but those are a given.
Well, I think we have to look on the police side too, to say, is there anything on the police side that we can scale back on, can save money on?
I think it's.
Because we don't want to spend the money on the police department that we shouldn't be spending.
Well, is it illogical to think of it the other way, though? That if you're, we know we've got some soft money in site costs, and we know we've got 20% on each side of the equation, so, you know, and I understand what you're saying. We've got one building fully furnished as it is now.
Right.
Is it illogical to look at the fire station and price in, at this point, a roof and an HVAC system, which we know we need?
No, and we have numbers on those, because we have a full cost estimate on both projects.
What are those numbers?
I
Are they
should-
by room?
I
Are they
should-
by,
They're by division, so there's
What
a
I mean-
roofing number.
like, I'm looking at the training room of mine. Can you tell me that that's $500,000 for that room, or $1 million, or?
We can get, not off the cost estimate you're looking at, but we can get you those numbers.
I mean, if you're gonna make cuts, you gotta start looking at
Right.
specific, all
But
right,
I-
well, I don't really need a,
I think we look
this
at
or
every,
that, you know?
I mean, even controls in a building, which I think police and fire should be simple controls, you know? Control systems cost a lot in HVAC, but to have up, down, and off,
Yes.
the savings and all those things, and I think that in functionality and maintenance and everything, that's the right way to go.
I agree.
You know, a lot of these
agree,
newer
too.
buildings have these high-tech, expensive,
Right. And
and then they get turned over and no one
Nothing
can
but
even
trouble.
work them.
Right.
Correct, so, but things like that, and I
know,
think
deal
we,
with them all the
He
time.
would know.
right, but we, right, so there's things like, and we just go through everything, I think, and I do the metal building over there at the new PD scares me a little bit. We can look at it and look at the different systems. I'd just love to, if we're gonna build a new building, have it obviously last a lifetime, and that I'm a little bit leery on that metal building. I mean, there's things that can be done to get up to energy code and stuff like that, but I don't think it's the ideal. But we can go through all those things, and obviously it's not, that's dollars, but I think dollars better spent now than in the maintenance of the building and things like that, so.
One of the biggest dollar savings that I heard was there's a potential for the owner to do some work. That's something I couldn't commit. But if
Owner of that building?
You want to be?
No, it's the
Town
town,
doing site work.
the town doing site work.
doing
Okay, you said owner, town, you're talking about the town.
Yeah.
I thought, did somebody buy it from us?
No, no, I talked to you.
We sell it already?
You're the owner. You're the owner.
It's going to come up with terms we have to get used to.
But if that's a viable option, that should be put on the table early. And that's definitely savings.
Well, we've had that discussion already, so the
Yeah.
answer to that is yes.
Well, that's tremendous.
Well,
That's tremendous. That's
to
a big,
find out the scope of the site work.
We do, but,
And then
but
get together with
there's a
DPW.
willingness for our DPW people to get involved in
Right.
that. Now, to what degree, we haven't defined that, but there is a willingness to do that.
yeah, that's wonderful.
Okay?
Just going back to the heating issue, we've got the cheapest motel heating system that you could possibly get, other than the boilers.
Yep.
Because we had to upgrade those, because the previous station, they kept the existing boiler. And I know everybody at the end of the line had cold water running through by the end, so. And the wall units they have, terrible.
Yep,
It's 85 degrees or it's 85 degrees.
right.
You know?
That's because it's not a simple system.
No.
Like you
Right,
said,
right,
It's one of those complicated systems
Right.
that doesn't work.
Right. Unfortunately, I came in the middle of Webster Police when it's been done for some time now, but there's radiant panels above windows and things like that. That's all. I think it should be supply air and return and simple controls. But these are all things that we can look at. I think out of this meeting, I can start to spearhead things and meet with the DPW director over there, meet with him at the existing fire station, and start to get these things rolling, I think.
Yeah, if we knew that's potential, then we would definitely want to take advantage of that. I think we need to know when you want to meet. You're going to have regular meetings, because we need to be prepared to come back and make them productive meetings for you. Know what's on the agenda, know what information you want, so we can get that information back to you clearly. We want to put together a projected schedule so we can get drawings out to bid and contractors lined up at an appropriate time. There's a time effort that we need to put these drawings together for contractors bidding. This doesn't happen overnight, so there's a lot of architectural and engineering work that has to be done. But we want to make you just as much a part of the process as you want to be. If you have a big interest in the HVAC side, we want you to be a part of that conversation before
Well, he
Oh,
it's
would
all
be the best guy to talk
yeah,
to about
but before it's designed.
I can't even pronounce it.
Before it's all ready to bid, and then you say, well, have you thought about something else? So get you involved in the early planning meetings, the design development meetings, where we talk to you and say, here's the pros and cons of one system versus another system. We don't want to be working in a vacuum. But in order to do that, we want to have some access to you and know when you want to meet. And we could come up during the day and do some of these other meetings and then report to you at night. I don't know how active you want to be. I don't want these meetings to be 3.5-hour meetings either for you. We've had different committees working with different levels of interest and different levels of information. So really, it's something I'm interested from you as to how involved, and if you want to keep these meetings short, we can. We could just tell you, here's our update, and keep them short, or we can really roll your sleeves up. What I've most found is we'll roll our sleeves up and have the longer meetings during the day and inform you that what they're gonna be and what the agenda is. And if you are interested, you can attend. And then we can come back and report as to what we've decided in those subcommittee meetings. And
That works for me.
Yeah, it works for me, too.
Works for me.
okay,
I think the next step is Andrew has to get together with Brian.
Right.
And know that we're looking to replace the roof and update the HVAC.
yeah, and put together the must-haves.
Right, put together the must-haves, and then probably meet with Jack and Bob McGee, DPW Director, and have a sense of the scope of the site work and have Bob look at it and say, well, we can do this and we can do this, but we need someone else to do this part.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I'm up, and I think if, I don't, and pardon, but if we met once a month, this committee, and then we meet, whether you want to do weekly or bi-weekly, to get things rolling, and we can come, this meeting be more of an update and
Yep.
an overall, but we can really get into the details, hopefully outside of this meeting, and then, like Brian says, keep these short and sweet, and I'm here for the committee, for the town, so, and I like to get involved down to the details, so we will, and we'll start that from day one, so. This should be a fun, exciting process. Sometimes it can get dragged out, but we have the ability, starting here at square one, to make it meet the committee's needs, so.
All right, well, why don't you guys get together and see if you can't come up with a number that, maybe scale back a little on the police, and scale back on some of the site work, and maybe we can come up with an agreement from everybody that it meets all the cost needs and the must-haves.
I'm hoping we could have the police department out to bid in the summertime, get a contractor on board early fall, so they can attack the site, have some nice weather
Yep.
to do what they need on the outside of the building. And then in the wintertime, it's going to become a nice interior project for them, because they don't really have to do a lot to enclose the building. It's
Do you have a
Close.
time frame for the rec? Do you have a time frame for the rec? Because obviously they're tied
I'm gonna be
together.
asked that question Thursday, or Wednesday.
It would be-
Wednesday.
It would be a similar time schedule, but we've got to figure out what I need to do to bid one versus the other. That I'm not clear about.
I mean, ideally, both bids would go out at once, and one contractor would get the whole bid.
I've just got to find out financially if that's one contractor, how we split up the
Yeah.
Costs?
costs
Yeah.
and keep the finances separate. So I agree, it'd be great if I could just have this look like it's one project to the contractor.
Right.
But I think I need to keep it split financially
Yeah,
on how
You
payments
have
are.
to keep it split financially.
Yeah, so that's something I still
I
have to
think we
understand.
we had a Metacom at the regional meeting a few weeks back, and it was mainly the board of directors and then Christine from State 911, and the board was talking with the Attorney General now to say, this is our predicament, can you recommend how we go? So they were, I believe it was Jeff Nutting from Franklin was going to talk to the Attorney General's office, and I'll follow up with him. We do every day, dealing with the Attorney Generals and union and labor issues and stuff like that, so I can, but the last Board of Directors meeting for the regional, they were going to talk to the Attorney General to see if there could be some sort of coordination, collaboration, bidding it together and somehow just nailing down a scope so that State 911 is happy with, how we're divvying up, because obviously it gets a little funky if there's one HVAC system for the building, but what feeds that one room, so. But I would think if we can get it broken down enough for the state, I think that they'll appreciate that.
One thought I had was just make that whole mech an alternate. And then I'd get a price from the contractor, what's the price to do whatever that scope is, down to fit out, down to the walls, down to the mechanical, just for that one area. So financially, we can keep the invoicing clear as to what the money's going for. I just don't want to spend any of the town's money on something that should be a cost that's carried by the state or by the MEC. Yeah, and I'm sure you're the same way, too. You only have limited money, so you don't want to be spending it on something that you don't have to be spending it on either.
Like, for instance, this training room could be shared space.
Exactly.
Right.
But also, even you think about electrical service to the building.
Right.
Is there a way to offset some of the utility costs to the building, seeing that they need power and you need power?
common areas also are similar, so they should share all those costs, so.
If
That's
you
where
can
your
get-
magic comes in.
Yeah, if you can get reimbursement on bringing utilities in from the utility companies,
Yeah. Well, even the asphalt in the parking lot, shouldn't we get a little bit of
right.
money on that? You know, drainage, whole 9
Well,
yards, if you can.
It's not clear to me yet where to slice the
That one's on us, I believe.
project.
Okay.
The exterior work, I believe, is on us.
Okay.
I do think the state is gonna be ecstatic. They've wanted to get this rolling just like everyone else, I think. So I think it's in the best benefit of Norfolk and the 3 other towns if we bid it all as one, but it's just getting through making sure that the Attorney General, but I think it benefits the towns, all 4 towns involved, and the state. So I think if we can, as long as we can get it, make sure that the Attorney General's office is clear and okay with what's going on, that'll be
Just break it up on a square footage basis, so if they're, I don't know what the numbers are, 4,000 out of 16,000, and those, electric, HVAC, things that the whole building needs, that their space also needs, that you just appropriate or allocate those costs.
Conversation I think we have to have with the state.
Yeah.
I personally would like to see what $5 million buys for that, but I happen to think that's way high. I mean, unless you're gonna gold pave that bay, that's ridiculous. I think it's an enormous abortion to see that number here, and I'm gonna be very blunt about that.
Yeah, I don't want to cut you off, Brian, but go ahead.
Well, it's 3.6 on the lower level. The 760,000 was just for the deck, the stairs and the elevator to get upstairs, and then there's $1 million in site work. So what we were putting into the building was 3.6. And that 3.6 is primarily main floor.
I'm
So-
talking about the fire department, I'm sorry, I was talking.
Oh, when
about
you're talking about
I'm sorry.
5 million, I was thinking the 5 million's the number I have down for the police side.
Never seen a $5 million two-bay garage.
Well, it's more than that.
Two-bay garage is 2.5.
2.5 for the.
Yeah, 2.5.
2.5. Have you seen a $2.5 million?
I'm gonna, I
bid?
guess. That's
No, it's still not just the.
No, it's not just
No,
the
it's
bid.
It's that whole new addition.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think Brian would say, and I sit and I get yelled at every day for the cost, but Brian and I don't make the prevailing rates.
Nothing's changing here.
Right. I mean, we're gonna hopefully we can do the world, honestly, do as much as, but the prevailing rates aren't going down. Laborers are at 52 in the check and carpenters are at 63, and that's in the check, so, billable rates and insurances and on top of that, so we're kind of dictated by the file sub-bid process in that whole thing, so.
We have been seeing bids coming in below our estimates, though. We don't want this one to be any different. Yeah, and you'll know what's going you'll see what's going on to the drawings, too.
before they go
We're
to
not
bid,
looking
right?
to gold plate anything here. We're just looking to give you functional, clean, usable space that's comfortable to work in.
So what do we do today to help you expedite and get this thing going? What can we tell you? I mean,
The must-haves at the fire station, we need to get into this budget.
so we know it's a
You don't have to
roof.
you don't have to make decisions on the other line items for the hard costs. We just need to know what's the dollar amount we need to reserve for renovations to the existing fire station.
Chief, I mean, I know it's a roof and a new HVAC system. What else? Gotta do.
Well, I mean, we need some semblance of organization, and certainly, by leaving it at the utility and the roof, I mean, we'll end up with an interior that needs an awful lot. I mean, to fathom a concept that we're going into this, now picking and choosing as we go, it's, does the patient need a pair of legs or a set of arms to function? And that's going to be really, really hard going down the road here. And it's morale busting at this point. I got to digest it with my staff. And clearly, hit below the belt here today.
I mean, even to just do the HVAC system, you have to know what the room configuration is. So if
Shots in the dark.
these rooms are changing the layout, you're knocking down walls, building new, you have to have that all
Some aren't.
worked in
Some
order
are.
to, even just to do the HVAC system.
What they're getting new would be all new locker rooms, turnout gear, bunks, the two-bay drive-through. That's what they're gonna get that's all new.
I'm just saying on the existing
If you're looking
facility.
on the existing side, in the passage that cuts straight through, they don't have that. But from the rooms that are below that, the lobby, administrative assistant, fire chief, deputy chief, shift officers, those are pretty much existing rooms. And to what degree you go in and repaint, recarpet, we could put,
But even prefacing those on the premise that they're existing use structured areas in the facility, I mean, just from floor coverings, ceilings, and the amount of extraneous and extemporaneous wiring and facilities that's in there, I mean, to even begin to comprehend the scope of that work is going to require at minimum dumping all those ceilings and removing everything that's up there to get an idea where to start, because at that point, we're putting lipstick on a pig.
I don't know how to answer that, because I would agree with you, but we also told you how much the project was gonna be for both projects. We gave you the numbers, and the town had the numbers, and the town elected to go to a referendum for a certain dollar amount. So we didn't create this, we're now trying to work within it. So now, we're all trying to work, what's the best way to use those funds?
And I think what I would say, the current chief of the Norfolk Fire Department, is that the money should first go to demo everything that's in there. And if that means we work on coffee tables for a while, I mean, that's what we would do. To try to cosmetically do anything with those spaces without first doing the demo, I think is just going to misrepresent the funds that have been approved by our taxpayers. I think it's tantamount to moving this project forward. And, and if we have to be the Marines and adapt and overcome, we've got people that have the ability and want to participate in sweat equity. And if we have to do it ourselves, well so be it. I mean, we will do it ourselves. And the people who live in that facility are that committed to getting the job done.
Can we not be doom and gloom on this? I mean, Cole, I mean,
I'm
there's
sorry.
no need to do that. I mean,
I'm fine.
we're going to figure it out. I mean, you gave us a $3 million number for renovating to meet this drawing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got $2.8 million in there for site work.
Mm-hmm.
So, and there's no logic to this conclusion, but let's say we can split that in half, because we can do some of that work, just to pick a number.
I think 50% savings is
So
realistic.
we know we've got we hypothetically have 1.4. You've got 20% contingency, our contingency, not the construction contingency,
Right.
in both projects. So we've got money to work with. So this isn't doom and gloom. Let's get off of that cart and get going. We can get this done.
And I go back, I mean, I've said from the very start, I mean, Chuck's building is exceedingly important, and because the regional dispatch is there, and I think what he's going to need to do to make it work. I mean, the other side of it, we'll do what we always need to do, but his is going to be a really, really important building.
They're both important, Cole.
I
Okay,
know.
we got to get them both done, and we got to get them done in a way that they're suitable for both departments. We got to get them
Let
both
Chuck
done.
say ours is more important, but
Let's
Well, I'm not saying we're spending 12.9 million on
We can't.
bonds.
I think, yeah, right. No, I think if we set up another meeting like this in a month, and I'll run around, and I'll get another meeting set up with the chiefs outside of this meeting. I'll speak with Jack as well and the head of the DPW, and we'll
Yeah.
get this rolling. And I
All
think,
Where we need to go.
That's
Yeah.
where we need to go next.
yeah, I think, and then
Yeah.
I'm just wrapping up a project with Brian. Brian has a long history with CDR McGuire folk, and and we'll get through this. You know, we're in a good situation, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, see, I mean, you've got $4.7 million of site work and soft costs in there.
Right. I think it's better that Brian's estimates are conservative. It's better that they be this way than not, you know, so once we really start digging into design development and working outside of this meeting, and we'll come back with a list of this is, you know, the whole value engineering / value management, and that's,
And, you know, and maybe some of those soft costs of the police station can be part of the MEC project too.
That's a good point, because that gets back to, I don't want you to spend any of your dollars on something that could be a MEC-covered expense.
Right.
And I just came from Norwell PD, because they've been in now for a year. So we did a one-year walkthrough at Norwell, and they just have been involved with the Hingham Regional. And I asked him how it's going, and he said the one thing that he never really anticipated, but what's happened in the last year is the amount of money that the state has been giving that place. They've now received $6 million in grant money, and they're getting more every year. And it's given him the ability, they have all new portables now, they have all new equipment in the cruisers, they have all new, so it's equipment money that they're getting every year to outfit and use on the police side. So knowing that there's a potential for that, you know,
That reduces our soft costs.
why spend your soft cost money
Yeah.
where you could get grant money, maybe not year one, but there's going to be continuing grant money that's going to come your way through that program.
That doesn't have to be dedicated to rec uses?
Yeah, but if
There's
there's a
flexibility.
training room, for instance,
Yeah.
that training classroom,
Sure.
you say there's a shared use,
Yep.
you could put equipment in there that you wait for the grant money to come for the equipment instead of saying, we're going to just take it out of soft costs. At this point, when we know we have a fire station we need to concentrate on.
The MMA, we just had an MMA meeting in Boston this weekend, and they had an entire 2-hour session just on regionalization of dispatch. And I was going to tell you this, they must have mentioned 20 times during that session that there's a lot of money,
Yeah.
and not a lot of people are grabbing for it right now, and we're at the head of the list. So you're absolutely right. There's a lot of money to be had from the state. They were promoting it to every,
Right.
351
They're pushing,
towns were represented there, and they were
Yeah.
really pushing this.
and I think what makes it as smooth as it can be is that I'm involved in that as well, and Brian's the architect lead. So
Yeah.
I think that's huge for both projects. If it was 2 OPMs, 2 architects,
Huh.
a set of engineers, I think that should,
Very confusing.
right, I think that should make the whole process smoother.
That was our thinking.
Yeah.
Right, correct.
It's not a coincidence.
That was everyone's.
It wasn't just a stroke of luck.
No, correct, but just to point it out, it could have been, because it's happened in other places, but it gets,
I mean, when
Redundant.
we met before, just, I know it wasn't the group meeting, but when we've had different conversations, and I remember, you know, we felt pretty confident that we could get everything we needed to get done in the 12.2. And including the roof, including the things that we needed to get done. It wasn't going to be the Taj Mahal at either end. We weren't looking for the Taj Mahal, but we felt confident that we could do that. And unless something's changed,
Nothing's changed.
then we'll work through the details, because I remember that discussion distinctly with you.
We come in with the same positive attitude that we think there's a good solution out here that everybody's going to walk away from when it's all done and said, you know, good job. It's a good job.
For our next meeting, what are we going to be meeting on? I understand one of them would be a list of must-haves for each building. Are we going to be looking at costs for those must-haves? And then
Yes.
from those costs, we're going to try to determine what extra money, if there is any extra money.
I think we should take this very rough budget and start to break it down into multiple pages. We need to look at the soft costs and talk more with the police department about the radio systems, talk more about what if with the town, are there legal expenses, are there borrowing costs, or there's everything that we need to anticipate out of these soft costs. Because if the town says, yeah, you need to pay all your legal fees and bonding costs out of this too, that's a must-have.
So we're gonna build out the sheet
Yeah, we
into
need-
something
we need to
much more robust.
A lot of line items,
Yeah.
get moving expenses, anything that we need to know, testing services, that's a must-have now. So we need to break out a line item, so we need to populate this now with a lot of lines. And the construction number, if the scope goes down, the number goes down. If the fire station scope goes up, the number will go up, but we'll give you what those numbers and changes are. Roof mechanical, we can come back and say we know what those numbers are, that's our estimate. So you need to be comfortable with the decisions going forward. The bottom line doesn't change. Bottom line is a hard number.
Yep.
But I think if we have more conversations even with the MEC, we'll have a clearer idea as to what their money could go toward.
Our next meeting for the regional is February 2nd in Rentham, so that'll happen. And I will work on the must-haves list, and I have other budgets from current projects, the Acushnet Police Station we just finished up, so very tangible, real number of things that I'll come back with a budget with the 12.2.
Right, good.
And we'll break it up, and we'll start going from there, if the committee's.
So could we meet like in the afternoon of the 8th? We should meet after you meet with the rec.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you want to give it a few weeks, or or what?
Well, that would be 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
You might want to give it more than 2 weeks. How much time do you think?
What?
2 weeks?
Give it 2 weeks to come back to this meeting?
Yeah.
As long, we'll meet as much as the
Yeah,
committee.
if you can be ready with some numbers.
I mean, will you have stuff for us in 2 weeks?
Yep, I can come back with the budget and things like that, and we can start,
Why wait?
Yeah, I agree.
You want to meet on Mondays? Is it Mondays the best times for you?
That's
Like
fine.
Mondays is
4
fine.
o'clock work?
Yeah, I love 4 o'clock. It's much better than 5, 6, and 7 o'clock.
Right.
I agree.
If you can do
July.
4,
That
it's
doesn't
great.
make
The 8th?
8? Okay.
Yep.
Meeting.
4 o'clock on the 8th.
And I'll do the minutes going forward, if that works.
Yeah,
with the
that'd
commi-
be
I'll
great.
start sending them out through email prior, and then I'll bring a set of copies to the meeting.
So what will we get on the 8th?
I'm gonna doctor up a typical budget that we do for a police or fire station. I'll come back with that, and then I'll also be discussing with the chiefs must-haves and options where we think we can.
Okay.
And I'm familiar with their budget, and it does break out a lot of line items for all the anticipated expenses. And at this point, you look at these line items and their allowances. They're just our guess, an estimate, educated guess. Based on our experience, you need to anticipate this much money. And it's for you to challenge, too. Why do we need it there? And we should have an answer for you. This is why it's needed. If it's not needed, then we should all be aware of that. But
And you'll have a meeting with Jack and the DPW?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Correct.
Before that.
Before
and
that,
be-
yep.
And be able to utilize what
Maybe
you
maybe
learned.
get
Absolutely,
some
yep.
idea as to how much they can
Yep.
pick up.
Yep.
I'm going to be in contact with Jack about a contract, so we need to finalize that, hopefully sooner than later, and then we can get consultants on board.
What did the last project you come in at, average cost per square foot? You said they came in under your anticipated costs.
Yes. Trying to think of the last one that was bid of a similar construction. Because we bid a wood frame building. I say that's not similar to what you have here. It could have been the Westboro Fire Station that we bid. And that was almost $400 a square foot. for new construction.
New construction.
And, yeah, renovation is all over the place.
Right.
I don't know if there's some other towns have a local VOTEC that sometimes ends up chipping in on some of those things. So we can go up that route as well for the, if we get to that point. It's an option of avoiding that prevailing wage, which is what every town's dealing with on these construction projects. So. But yeah, we'll come back on the 8th. I'll meet with Jack and DPW. Hopefully we can make that happen within 2 weeks in a budget, and we can start to.
And you'll get a clearer view as to how much the MEC is gonna pick
Yeah,
up on
I think-
soft costs and.
Right now, approved in state funding for the regional, we have 3.1 million.
Mhm.
So, and that was, as the chiefs know, that's gone, originally it was gonna be in Rentham, and then it was gonna
Right.
be at a hazardous site in Rentham, and it's bounced, so, but there currently is 3 million in funding for
and,
the
maybe
technology and for
Yeah.
construction, and,
get an idea what that's gonna cover.
Yep.
As part of this project.
yep.
And
Good
quite
spend.
honestly, that number froze because we weren't spending anything.
Correct. It's so.
They said, there's no
Right.
point in applying for another year's.
Right. We did apply and obviously got shot down the last go-round. I worked with
Chief Anderson.
Daryl and
Darryl,
Daryl, yeah, to work on that. But they said obviously, zero until now we have a building. So it's, I think.
And it's in our best interest to use every penny of that.
Yes.
There's no restriction on the time frame. You have to start spending it by a certain date or be done spending it by a certain date.
No, our experience is it's earmarked for the project, and as long as there's some progress on the project, it's earmarked, still earmarked. for
Right.
your use.
And we've put in extensions as well each year through the Metacom and Board of Directors. We put in
They've done that, yeah.
extension, so.
If we hadn't been successful last week, we might have been
Right,
Right.
level.
right. We're looking forward to this. I see it's gonna be the right solution for the town. I was really excited that the town came out and supported it. 'Cause that's not always easy.
No.
We don't.
It was on
pretty
45
close.
votes.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy here either.
That's not always easy. Sometimes it's a 2 or 3 referendum attempt. I know this was your second. But
Well, it's really the third. It's really the
Is it the
third
third?
time it's the second time we've gone to a vote, but it's the
Yeah.
third time we've attempted to get at this project.
Well, something connected with them this time that didn't happen the last couple times. So whatever that was, we're gonna feed off of that too, and give the town the project they're anticipating.
That's our intent.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else? Well, we look forward to your information next meeting, so
See you on the 8th.
see you on the 8th. Meeting adjourned.